In the early hours, a piercing earthquake alarm on my phone jolted me awake. Serena, the fake heiress, had locked my bedroom door from the outside again, venomously cursing me to die. Too bad for her, I was a reincarnated koi fish, blessed with innate good fortune. Watching my biological parents drag her away, completely disregarding me, I merely snickered disdainfully. The ones who truly deserve to die are all of you. In the dead of night, the piercing alarm on my phone suddenly blared, accompanied by continuous flashing red lights. A countdown echoed from beside my pillow, like a death warrant. Ignoring the pain, I desperately gripped the doorknob, but it wouldn't turn. The doorknob rattled, yet showed no sign of opening. "You're trapped, it's an earthquake. Don't struggle, it's useless." A soft, gentle voice drifted from outside the door. It was Serena, the fake heiress. I frantically pounded on the door, begging her to let me out. "Just let me out, and all past grievances will be forgotten. I'll move back in with my adoptive parents, never bothering you again." But she merely giggled through the door. "Realizing your mistakes now? Too late, Lily. You seduced my boyfriend and stole my parents. This is the price you have to pay." With that, her sweet laughter turned venomous. "No one takes what's mine, especially not you. Die, Lily." Serena's curses intertwined with the countdown alarm, making her sound like a demon. Just then, my biological parents' voices echoed from downstairs, asking Serena why she was standing there and not running. She immediately changed her demeanor, whining. I went up to call my sister, but she seemed to have left early. "Mom and Dad, let's find shelter quickly too." Clutching my phone, I watched through the peephole as the three of them ran off hand in hand. The very people who constantly spoke of making it up to me, my biological parents, hadn't mentioned me once from beginning to end. I pressed the stop button on the voice recorder in my pocket, then found a safe, triangular corner to hide. My face betrayed not a trace of panic. A minute later, the tremors stopped. I brushed off my slightly disheveled clothes, a sarcastic smile playing on my lips. "Too bad for you, Serena. I was born with the fate of a koi fish. Those who love me will be blessed by my good fortune, while those who harm me will only face ruin." The prestigious university I attended was filled with children from wealthy families, so there was no shortage of those looking to snag a rich partner. Serena was one of them. She pursued our department's hunk, but was rejected. Turning around, she caught sight of him putting his raincoat on me. The very next day, Serena had someone break my leg. Her tycoon father couldn't care less, tossing out a few tens of thousands to make the matter disappear. I still remember the first time I met my biological father, his scrutinizing and contemptuous gaze. But a week later, when I was discharged from the hospital, he put on a gentle smile and handed me a DNA test result. He claimed to be my biological father, saying the hospital had swapped babies years ago, and now he wanted to welcome me back to my true family. I lacked neither money nor love. From a very young age, I knew I wasn't my adoptive parents' biological child, but they treated me exceptionally well and never once mentioned searching for their birth daughter. I had almost forgotten that my parents and I didn't share the same blood. I was only occasionally curious about who my biological parents were and what their real daughter was like. Now, the chance to satisfy my curiosity was right before my eyes. So, I agreed to move into the tycoon's home for a while, even believing their promises of compensation at one point. But then I realized it was all just a scam. The room was a little dark, the hallway so quiet it made one sleepy. After a long while, footsteps echoed. "It's true, someone you didn't raise from birth is just cold-blooded. That girl, who knows where she ran off to, couldn't even bother to check on us." These fragmented words from Mrs. Liu drifted from outside the door. Serena, hearing her mother complain, immediately interjected. "Don't be sad, Mom, don't you still have me?" The mother and daughter exchanged a few more words and laughs. As they passed my room, I deliberately made a loud noise, a chair crashing to the floor. Silence fell outside the door, followed by Serena's intentionally exaggerated voice. "Oh, when did you get back, sis? Why did you lock yourself in? Oh dear, this lock is all rusty. It must be stuck because of the earthquake. Don't worry, I'll open it for you." I leisurely watched her open the door. With her back to her parents, she flashed me a triumphant smirk. In a voice only we two could hear, she said, "Don't even think about explaining. Who do you think Mom and Dad will believe?" I said nothing. Facing Serena's malicious gaze, I took the voice recorder from my pocket and softly pressed the button. My voice and Serena's successively echoed in the hallway, along with the countdown of the earthquake alarm. Serena, don't lock the door, please let me out. No one takes what's mine, especially not you. Die, Lily. Serena's smile suddenly froze. Realizing something belatedly, she turned to look at her parents. Mr. Dew's face was grim. He stood silently, arms crossed, leaning against the stair railing. Mrs. Liu's eyes darted between Serena and me, finally fixing on the voice recorder in my hand, her face darkening. Serena, what is the meaning of this? I curled one side of my lip, silently counting in my head. 1, 2, 3. Sure enough, Serena's tears immediately streamed down her face, a true pear blossoms drenched in rain scene. Similar scenes had played out many times in the 2 days I'd been in this house. If I wasn't mistaken, the next second, Mrs. Liu would pull her daughter into her arms. Serena wiped her tears with the back of her hand, her head bowed, sobbing. I'm sorry, Mom. I only said those things to scare her. I was afraid that if you had her, you wouldn't like me anymore, you wouldn't want me anymore. With that, her face turned pale, looking as if she was about to faint. Mrs. Liu quickly embraced her daughter, her heart aching. I knew Serena had a medical condition, that her health wasn't good and she needed medication to maintain it. But this talent for fainting on cue, that truly astonished me. Mrs. Liu gently patted Serena's back, wiping her tears. My silly girl, you're both my daughters. I raised you for 20 years, how could I not want you? She finished, then looked at me with a complicated expression. Lily, Serena was wrong this time. But can't you be a little more understanding of your sister? Her health isn't good and she's quite sensitive. Can you forgive her? I'll make it up to you later. I watched the mother and daughter embracing, a cold laugh forming in my heart. Is this what they call both my daughters? Is this what they call a sensitive sister who can have someone break my leg? And now they're just drawing me a picture of pie in the sky. I said nothing. The atmosphere instantly became stifling, broken only by Serena's incessant sobs. Mr. Dew, who had been silent, finally moved. He pulled Serena over, standing her in front of me. All right, apologize to your sister. Lily, you're fine, don't push your luck. How amusing, me pushing my luck. From beginning to end, I haven't said a single word. You're all just performing your own play. Serena meekly mumbled, Sis, I was wrong. Then she burrowed back into her mother's arms and was led back to her room. In a flash, only Mr. Dew and I remained in the hallway. He stared into my eyes, as if trying to see through me, then said in a deep voice, carrying a voice recorder even at home, that's not a good habit. I raised an eyebrow, finding it amusing. You're about to extract my kidney. Shouldn't I be allowed to carry a few items for self-defense? My trust in Serena's family completely shattered on the morning of my second day at their home. After I was discharged from the hospital, Mr. Dew even had his private doctor give me a comprehensive health checkup. Mrs. Liu prepared a lavish feast, claiming it was to welcome me and wash away my travel dust. At the dinner table, the couple held my hands, saying they would make up for all the love I'd lacked over the past 20 years, showering me with jewelry and clothes. I almost believed in their sincerity. Early the next morning, I woke up, wanting to personally make them a loving breakfast. Who knew that as I passed the study door, I would overhear a conversation that shattered my worldview? It's a match, it's a match. After 2 years of searching, we finally found a suitable kidney. Old Dew, our Serena is saved. Yes, heaven has eyes, delivering the person right to our doorstep. Old man, this test report is at Lily's. Silence fell inside for a moment, and my heart felt as if it were being cut. Mr. Dew's voice faintly drifted out. Liu, don't hesitate anymore. Serena can't hold on much longer. But they're both my daughters, I can't do it. Liu, think carefully. Which of them is more important? Silence filled the room again, so quiet I felt my own heart die. Indeed, I had wondered why my biological parents, silent for 20 years, suddenly showed up at my door. Why did these people, who once disdained a commoner like me, suddenly do a complete 180-degree turn in their attitude? I should have figured it out sooner. My hands trembled uncontrollably, tears welled up, making my eyeballs ache. I took a deep breath and quietly turned back to the kitchen. My phone suddenly rang. It was a message from my adoptive parents abroad. My dear daughter, Dad just secured the funding from Bulgaria. Am I cool or what? Mom and I are flying back next week. Your mom missed you so much she cried. Hearing my dad's voice, I immediately burst into tears, then started laughing. I have parents who love me. Blood ties are just a chain, they're not worth my heartbreak. However, I am someone who always repays debts, and this one must be settled before I leave. The next day, Mr. Du searched my room, confiscating all my self-defense tools. Besides the voice recorder, there was also a Swiss Army knife and a small camera. Seeing his wary gaze, I rubbed my nose. It seemed I really did look a bit like a spy. But I fiddled with the 2 rows of buttons on my sleeve. Hidden inside was a USB drive containing some incriminating evidence I had collected from his study over the past 2 days. Dad's been missing a few things lately. They're not with you, are they? Mr. Du narrowed his eyes. His hand, which was about to frisk me, instead rested on my shoulder. He stared at my clenched hand. What are you holding? Let Dad see. He grabbed my hand, intending to pry it open. Mrs. Liu suddenly pushed the door open, phone in hand. It was unclear who was on the other end. Mr. Du gave me a deep, unsaid glance, then walked out. Ha, I really am lucky. What was worth pondering was that on the desk in his study, I had found a business plan and the guest list for a Bulgarian charity gala. I wondered what kind of expression Mr. Du would have when he discovered that my adoptive father had already secured the investment slot from Bulgaria. After last night's incident, a tense atmosphere enveloped the villa. I was too lazy to play their games, so I stuck a note on the main door and left. Because of my injured leg, I intentionally attended classes irregularly. Today, Professor Shen was lecturing, and I didn't want to miss it. Professor Shen was very famous online, not only because he was one of the youngest professors in the country, with profound knowledge and clear, insightful lectures, but also because his face was simply too captivating. Getting a seat in his classes was as hard as getting concert tickets for a superstar. Serena had already started her performance, her skirts getting shorter and shorter. I casually wore a t-shirt, bought soy milk and steamed buns from a roadside stall. The freshly steamed meat buns were soft, fragrant, and piping hot. Just as I was about to bite into one, a hand snatched it away. Ethan mischievously took a big bite out of my bun, his face beaming with happiness. Gotta have something hot like this in the morning to really get started. I pinched his puffed-up cheek, looking him up and down. You, of all people, what does Serena even see in you? Hey, people are lining up all the way to Siberia to pursue me. Only you are blind, Ethan said, brushing his hair back to reveal 2 small fangs, acting smug. I truly couldn't stand his conceited act. When I was little, my adoptive father hadn't struck it rich yet. Every day, he'd carry his bag everywhere looking for opportunities. I'd trail behind him. On Mid-Autumn Festival, Dad took me to meet a factory director. While the adults talked business, I ran to the pond's edge, munching on mooncake and playing with the water. The water was crystal clear, reflecting the moon beautifully. After a moment, I felt something was off. The moon in the pond seemed to have a black spot. When I got closer to look, I discovered it was a little girl about my age. I was so scared I ran, screaming for Dad and Uncle. Then I found a long stick and frantically tried to fish the child out of the pond during the commotion. Luckily, the child was saved and brought ashore. Uncle held the girl, his face pale, pressing and rubbing until she spat out a mouthful of water. Curiously, I leaned close to the girl's face. Her eyelashes were so long, her skin fair, her hair black and shiny, unlike my own dry, split-ended hair. The beige dress she wore was a bit loose but still very pretty. I hoped she'd wake up so we could be the best sisters in the world. Unexpectedly, I didn't get a sister, but a brother. 8-year-old Ethan had just had surgery, and it was inconvenient for him, so his mother forced him to wear his sister's dress. The dress was too big, and he slipped and fell into the pond. If I hadn't chanced upon him, who knows where he would have drowned. I squinted at Ethan's now cheeky, brazen appearance, feeling a deep, indescribable ache in my heart. He used to be such a little angel. But thanks to me saving him, Uncle always praised me as his lucky star, saying that out of respect for this little koi fish of mine, he had to cooperate with my adoptive father, investing hundreds of thousands with a wave of his hand. In recent years, both their businesses had soared like kites in the wind. The year before last, Dad took me to an antique market. I casually opened a few jade stones and, unexpectedly, found top-grade, water-green jadeite. The shop owner's eyes lit up, constantly saying, "I've never seen such beautiful glass-like jadeite since I opened shop." My dad was overjoyed and went into the jade business. Even I didn't expect him to somehow sign a contract with Bulgari. Ethan automatically carried my bag, his eyes constantly glancing at my leg. "What are you staring at?" I snapped, annoyed. "It's all because of your face causing trouble." Ethan lowered his head, a remorseful look on his face. "No, and my perfect physique too. Being too perfect is a crime." My fists were itching. The lecture took place in the grand auditorium. Thousands of seats were completely full. Ethan and I sat in the fourth row, in the student council's section, perfectly positioned to see Serena's ramrod straight back diagonally in front. Innumerable scrutinizing glances passed between the three of us, but I pretended not to notice. When Professor Shen appeared and spoke his first words, the entire auditorium erupted in applause. He had to put down the microphone and gesture for silence. His semi-rimless glasses concealed his curved smile, but I still caught his eyes precisely. Ethan suddenly stretched, conveniently blocking my view. "What are you doing?" I glared at him. "Someone's eyes are practically glued to him. Didn't you say you came here for academic research?" I ignored him, focusing solely on the lecture. I wasn't lying. Professor Shen had presented very advanced theories today, teaching from basics to real-world cases, then analyzing simulated applications and prospects. A single session yielded immense benefits. The department head and several professors from the department, hoping to invite Professor Shen for a meal, were already pulling him as he stepped off the stage to keep him there. Serena rushed forward. Mr. Du had once donated a building to the school. If Serena suggested having dinner together, the professors would surely not refuse. But I didn't want to give her this chance. Moreover, she shouldn't have this chance. I pulled Ethan, bowed to the professors, acting like a diligent student. "Professor Shen, the math modeling competition is about to start. A few friends in our group would like to ask for your guidance on some issues." Then I looked at the department head with extreme sincerity. "The department head has placed a lot of expectations on us. Would that be all right, Professor?" Ethan stood behind me, his face unwilling, and only after I kicked him did he grudgingly chime in with a few words. Faced with such eager and proactive students, the professors couldn't say no. Serena tried to interject, but Professor Shen cut her off first. "Of course, that's fine." I kept Professor Shen occupied until the very last class, to the point that other professors even came to listen in. Serena had no opportunity to get in, but she still didn't give up. After making a call to Mr. Du, she looked at me with a triumphant expression. I immediately had a bad feeling. A few minutes later, the department head received a phone call, then laughed heartily and said, "Chairman Du has already booked a restaurant. It's not early anymore. Let's eat and talk." As for me, just as I left the school gates, I was invited home by bodyguards dispatched by Mr. Du. Ethan and Professor Shen simultaneously looked at me. I gave them a reassuring glance. The car seemed to be heading somewhere other than the villa. I tried the doorknob, which was locked from the inside. I didn't know what Mr. Du was up to, but I'd face whatever came my way. He couldn't possibly commit an illegal act in broad daylight. But I had still underestimated Mr. Du's shamelessness. As dusk settled, I watched the increasingly desolate scenery outside the car window, my eyelids twitching uncontrollably. My phone kept showing no signal. I couldn't make any calls. My heart sank. "Uncle, where are we going?" The driver looked at me through the rearview mirror. "Chairman Du instructed me to take you to the winery. It's quite far, you can get some sleep first." A winery? What could I possibly need to talk to him about there? My ominous premonition grew stronger. Just then, a sharp corner of a roadside rest stop appeared ahead. I quickly clutched my stomach. "Uncle, could you stop up ahead for a moment? It's my period, and I need to use the restroom." As I spoke, I intentionally made my voice tremble, pinching my thigh hard, the pain making my face turn ghostly pale. After several moments of hesitation, the driver finally approached the rest stop and slowed down. "Miss Lily, I'll hold your phone for you. Go quickly and come back quickly." Before I could open the car door, the driver's hand stretched out. I looked at the wide-open hand in front of me, the threatening gaze from ahead making me tremble. I gritted my teeth and handed over the phone. "It's okay, I remember all my family's numbers." Before I got out of the car, the driver repeated, "Go quickly and come back quickly." Dark clouds had completely obscured the last rays of sunlight. Rain began to fall. After entering the rest stop, I felt no relief whatsoever. At the service counter, there was only a girl playing on her phone. In the main hall, two shabbily dressed men sat slouching. On the floor, I couldn't tell if it was spilled Coca-Cola or some other liquid, but my shoes felt slightly sticky as I walked. I constantly had a vague feeling of being watched, a chill running through my body. I couldn't stay here long. The two men on the chairs had been staring at me since I entered, making me extremely uncomfortable. The driver's words suddenly echoed in my mind. Go quickly and come back quickly. I instinctively quickened my pace. As I approached the service counter, I realized the girl wasn't playing on her phone, but clutching it tightly, mechanically pressing buttons, repeatedly looping short video clips, occasionally switching to the messages and call screen, then back again, as if anxiously waiting for someone to contact her. Hello? I suppressed the strange feeling rising in my chest, tapping my knuckles on the service counter's glass, inadvertently startling the girl into a scream, almost making her jump out of her seat. Ah, hello, ma'am, can I help you? The girl's voice was tense. She clearly hadn't recovered. Getting closer, I even saw that her collar was soaked with sweat, even though the air conditioning in the hall was quite cool. A nerve in my head suddenly tensed, signaling that something was very wrong. I stared at her for a moment, then glanced at the car parked by the road, swallowed, and decided, my phone's out of battery. Could I borrow yours to make a call? After speaking, I carefully observed the girl's reaction. Her stiff smile and constricted pupils confirmed my bad feeling. This place was very dangerous. She curled her lip, feigning an apology. There's a problem with the signal tower nearby. It's hard to make calls in this area. If you urgently need to contact someone, drive a few kilometers to a White House. The signal should be back there. I nodded slightly, slowly backing away without revealing my intentions, planning to see if there was another exit. But unfortunately, Mr. Du had confiscated all my self-defense tools that morning. Otherwise, I wouldn't feel so insecure right now. Yes, I have a stomachache. Is there anywhere I can get some hot water here? As I spoke, I spotted a vending machine in the corner. Unfortunately, the power cord behind it was severed. Turning back, the girl had already brought out a cup of water, enthusiastically offering it to me. Just happened to boil a kettle. Are you on your period? Do you need some brown sugar? I quickly shook my head. I dared not drink a single drop of that water. The second floor of the rest stop was even emptier than the first. I used the restroom as an excuse to wander around but found nothing. There was nowhere to hide, no other exits. The small courtyard connected to the back door was enclosed by a barbed wire fence. My forehead was slick with sweat. I felt like I had fallen into a giant net. When I returned to the main hall, the two shabbily dressed men were gone. I secretly breathed a sigh of relief. The girl saw me return, smiled, asked if I felt better, and then brought me another cup of hot water. I shook my head, refusing. This time, the girl's smile quickly vanished, almost dissolving into a sigh. She muttered, "If I told you to drink it, wouldn't it be better if you just did?" I didn't quite catch all her words, but I saw her phone screen light up, displaying action. 3 notification sounds rang out simultaneously. My pupils constricted, and almost instinctively, I bolted for the door. A trap, this is a trap. Now I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. In a flash, I suddenly understood the driver's words. Go quickly and come back quickly. It seemed Mr. Du had prepared a contingency plan when he picked me up. If I didn't obediently go to the winery, then this sole rest stop on the road was my best chance to escape. He had people stationed here. Who knows what they'd mixed into the water? If I drank it, I might lose consciousness. Even if I didn't drink, those 2 big men would capture me. The whooshing of wind came from behind and beside me. I silently understood. Recalling those 2 men, though shabbily dressed, I could vaguely see their muscles. They were martial artists. I didn't dare imagine what fate awaited me if they truly attacked. It would likely be worse than simply fainting from the drink. And all this was probably because the morning phone call had interrupted Mr. Du's search of me. Serena's illness couldn't wait any longer. They were desperate for my kidney, but couldn't do it openly, as I wouldn't agree. They needed me to have an accident. If that was the case, looking at the luxury car now very close, my heart sank. Even if I got into the car and escaped this place, the outcome wouldn't be good. Go quickly and come back quickly. The driver's demeanor when he gave me that instruction suddenly flashed before my eyes. I decided to take a gamble. As the car started, my pounding heart was louder than the roaring engine. The driver looked at me through the rearview mirror. We're late. Chairman Du must be very anxious. Fasten your seatbelt, Miss Lily. I looked at the 2 men standing in the distance at the rest stop entrance, a fire of anger flaring in my heart. Yes, they were so eager to send me on my way. Before entering the rest stop, the driver had twice reminded me to go quickly and come back quickly, and just now told me to fasten my seatbelt. I didn't think he was just speaking casually. "Why are you helping me?" The last two words I didn't voice. The driver gestured for me to be silent. I instantly understood. There was a listening device. Mr. Du, you really can't wait a single moment." In the final few kilometers to the winery, I could almost see the corner of a red-spired tower. The driver suddenly slowed down, handing me a black plastic bag. Inside was a rectangular object. I squeezed it. It must have been a phone. The driver gestured for me to look in the rearview mirror, but when I saw clearly, I couldn't help but hold my breath. Behind us, a Volkswagen was giving chase. It was Professor Shen's car. He had followed us. The car's speed grew slower and slower until that familiar car became larger and larger in my sight. The car door lock clicked open, and my heart pounded fiercely. I looked at the driver. He slowly exhaled, pointing at my eyes through the mirror. "When you hit the ground, Roll, you won't get hurt easily. This is your only chance." With that, he slowed the car to its slowest pace. The moment I opened the door and jumped out, I heard him say, "Thank you for saving my mother. Repaying kindness with a life, it's worth it." I stared at him, astonished. However, after I flew out, the luxury car suddenly accelerated, leaving only a trail of exhaust smoke for me. Professor Shen anxiously embraced me. After a quick check, he let out a heavy sigh of relief, finding only a few simple scratches. I stared blankly at the distant car, my eyes unfocused. After a long moment, I met Professor Shen's worried gaze. "Brother, what did he mean?" Ethan was also in the back seat of the car, carefully bandaging my wounds. The two of them had sneaked out of the party halfway through. After I was taken away, Ethan had been very restless. Taking advantage of Professor Shen's tipsiness, he secretly dragged him outside. First, he confessed to installing GPS on my phone, demanded to go chase after me, and got a good punch from me for it. Only after getting the phone and zooming in on the location did Professor Shen realize my position was indeed wrong, and he hastily drove after me. And so we came to the current scene. My heart was in a panic, the driver's last words repeating in my head. His face also felt increasingly familiar. I remember now. That driver was the man I gave my lottery ticket to. Last year, a lottery scratch-off craze swept through the dorms, and I bought a ticket with my roommate just for fun. Halfway through scratching, I heard a man in the shop crying desperately, saying his elderly mother had a terminal illness and needed a life-saving sum, but he couldn't gather enough no matter what. He had come here hoping for luck, but it seemed fate was playing a cruel joke. Seeing the last bit of money in his pocket about to run out, he couldn't bear it anymore. I felt sorry for him. I saw the number 3 partially revealed, and among the winning numbers there was a 38. There was a chance he could actually win. I'd always had good luck, and if I could truly help him, it would be a virtuous deed. Unexpectedly, after I gave it to him, he scratched off a 150,000 prize right there on the spot. He cried and profusely thanked me, saying, "My old mother is saved." If not for the people in the shop holding him back, he would have prostrated himself several times before me. So, it was him. My heart trembled. However, what made it harder for me to calm down was that 10 minutes later, 2 kilometers from the winery, a tanker truck crashed into the luxury car he was driving. When the ambulance sirens wailed past Professor Shen's car, I almost lost control of my emotions. That was a human life, a living, breathing person, harmed because of me. Mr. Du, how dare he? Ethan held my trembling body tightly, gently patting me. "Don't be scared. He did this to you today. We'll make him pay blood for blood." Clutching the phone the driver had given me at the end, my fury erupted. After that day, I took an extended leave from school. Whether it was because his plan was exposed or not, Mr. Du remained quiet for a while but never admitted to sending people to take me to the winery. Instead, he feigned surprise, asking if I had encountered kidnappers and if I needed help reporting it to the police. Report to the police? Of course I would, but now wasn't the time. I moved back home with my adoptive parents. They had just returned from abroad, their joyful expressions infectious. I couldn't help but briefly tell them about what had happened. To my surprise, my usually gentle parents instantly couldn't sit still, banging on the table, grabbing sticks, and demanding to go to the Du family's house to set things straight. I quickly reassured them, saying I would handle it properly. If my methods truly stopped working, I would seek their help. Mom's eyes were moist as she touched my face, continuously murmuring, "My daughter has really grown up." Serena remained as arrogant and unruly as ever, though seeing her condition, gasping for breath after just 2 steps, her health truly couldn't hold up anymore. Yet she still lingered between the 2 dazzling flowers, Ethan and Professor Shen, unable to escape. Ethan played cat and mouse with her, pushing and pulling to the extreme, never letting her gain an inch, but extracting quite a few words from her. During their conversations, Serena almost assumed I was no longer a threat to her, even saying that my heart, liver, and kidneys would sooner or later be hers. In front of Ethan, she relentlessly slandered me, badmouthing me in every possible way. When Ethan relayed this to me, he was so angry his face was contorted. Professor Shen, using the pretext of university enterprise cooperation, infiltrated Mr. Du's company, using 4 ounces to defeat 1,000 pounds. He caused Mr. Du significant losses without the slightest suspicion falling on him. Occasionally, he would use business discussions as an excuse to stay at Mr. Du's house for a while, casually encountering Serena. He didn't need to say anything. A mere light smile from him would send Serena into raptures, as if she were being doted on, her spirits soaring. For these 2 brilliant individuals, I could only say one word: superb. Now Mr. Du's capital chain was strained. The Bulgarian investment was his last gamble, one he had to win. On the night of the gala, I wore the high-end dress my adoptive mother designed for me, gracefully entering arm-in-arm with Ethan, our wine glasses clinking in a harmonious blur. My adoptive father and the chairman of Bulgari chatted happily, even getting acquainted with several other influential figures. I couldn't help but stick out my tongue. My father and I, one a koi fish, the other a social butterfly. Sooner or later, if the sky were to rain coins, they'd have our names engraved on them. Mrs. Liu wore a champagne-colored gown, looking very much like a lady, but she paled in comparison to my adoptive mother. My mom's red mermaid dress accentuated her graceful figure. Many ladies secretly looked at her, asking who that star was. Serena, too, stood beside her mother, arm in arm with Professor Shen, her face flushed, looking at me with triumph. A mischievous idea suddenly struck me. I casually picked up a glass of red wine and, still arm in arm with Ethan, walked over to them. Mrs. Liu was flattering my adoptive mother. Seeing me, her expression changed and she frowned. "Lily, why are you here?" Then her gaze shifted to Ethan, who was still holding my arm, and her brows relaxed. "Did young Master Ethan invite you? Why didn't you tell Mom?" As soon as she said this, the faces of the ladies around us became strange. I covered my mouth, as if I'd heard a joke, feigning surprise. "Auntie, are you mistaken? Your daughter is right next to you." I pouted towards Serena, then naturally linked arms with my adoptive mother. "This is my mother." Mrs. Liu's face registered shock. "How can this be?" Yes, how could it be? On my first day at the villa, I was simply dressed, covered in dust. Even though I tried to conceal it well, I still read the disdain in her eyes. She must have immediately assumed my family background wasn't good. Additionally, my adoptive parents had always been low-key, almost never appearing publicly in the country. Her attitude now was not strange at all. Furthermore, since they claimed they wanted to take me home, they had never publicly announced my identity. What right did she have now to claim kinship with me? I then smiled brightly, turning to Professor Shen. "Cousin, there's a slice of cake by Dad that looks delicious, but there are too many big shots over there. I don't dare go alone. Could you help me get it?" Ethan clenched his hand, about to say he'd go, but I pinched his mouth, cutting him off. "I'm exposing a white lotus right now. You clearly have no sense of timing." Professor Shen smiled knowingly, patted my head. "Of course I can." Serena's gentle smile instantly shattered. She blurted out, "Cousin?" She looked as if she'd been struck by lightning, frozen in place. I suppressed a laugh and nodded. Yes, my cousin." Then I leaned into her ear and softly whispered, "Deep down, you know best that he's actually your cousin." As the joke ended, I felt utterly refreshed. Leaving Serena and Mrs. Liu bewildered, my eyes met Mr. Du's. He had witnessed everything and couldn't hide his astonishment. I smiled, raising my wine glass towards him. "Don't rush, the real show hasn't even begun." After the CEO of Bulgari finished his speech, guests began to raise their bidding paddles for the auction items. The entire hall became lively, with undercurrents surging beneath the stage. When the fifth auction item appeared, a stir went through the crowd. Everyone curiously looked at the small box on stage, labeled Crime and Punishment, completely puzzled. I smiled and stepped forward, opened the box, and took out the small USB drive inside. The next auction item is provided by Mr. Do, business secrets worth tens of millions. With that, I plugged the USB into the computer. The moment I stepped onto the stage, Mr. Do's face turned grim, wanting to stop me, but Ethan and Professor Shen, one on each side, pinned him tightly to his seat. He couldn't move, only able to glare at me. A data table appeared on the large screen, and the area below the stage immediately erupted. "This is our company's confidential data. Mr. Do, how did you obtain it? Please explain." Mr. Do, of course, couldn't explain. Cold sweat broke out on him. He wanted to run but couldn't. I continued. "The phone the driver gave me contained several call recordings. I had copied them all to the USB. Soon you will be at the winery. A car will crash into you all." Of course, not a real crash, just enough to make her faint. If she tries to run, take her to the rest stop, there will be people there to assist. With each sentence spoken, Mr. Do's face grew a shade whiter. He looked at me as if he wanted to skin me alive. The stage area was shaken by a wave of shock. Many people looked at him with indignant eyes. I leisurely pulled out the USB drive, holding it in my hand. There are many other unsavory things inside, but I won't present them one by one. This auction item, appearing here today, was obtained through sacrifice. In life, there's nothing more important than living without shame in one's heart and actions. We cannot tolerate petty individuals who disrupt the marketplace and disturb everyone's peace. "Mr. Do you have anything else to say?" Mr. Do couldn't say anything more. He had fainted. I handed all the evidence over to the police. Just as Mr. Do had intended for me, the Do Corporation collapsed like a landslide. The Grand Do family villa was also mortgaged. When Serena appeared before me again, she was as withered as a moldy banana. Mrs. Liu cried and prostrated herself before us, begging us to save her daughter. I looked at the mother and daughter, a complicated feeling in my heart. These people, who were meant to have a profoundly close connection to me in this life, had ended up like this. Professor Shen stood behind me. Serena glanced at him, growing even more frightened, tears streaming down her face. She tried to rush forward and grab his sleeve. Brother, save me, I'm your sister." Then she went to tug at Mrs. Liu's sleeve. "Mom, I'm Serena, I'm your real daughter. Mom, save me, please save me." Her cries echoed at our doorstep day and night. Eventually, when Ethan came to find me, he almost tripped over the two of them who had fainted at the door, and only then did he take them to the hospital. Professor Shen had to fly off to another city to lecture. This time, who knew how long it would be until we met again? I tugged at my cousin's arm, whining playfully, but Ethan cut me off. "I'm not convinced. What's wrong with you? You already know he's my cousin. Are you jealous? When did I ever care about you? Who'd even care about you? You're so full of yourself." "I would." Ethan and I argued loudly. My adoptive parents poked their heads out from the kitchen, calling us in for dinner. Professor Shen, one hand on each of us, pulled us into the house. It was truly wonderful. The warm, cozy atmosphere I loved. Yeah,